him and Pallister together were decent players, but he's done nothing as a manager. And you've got people like him, Sam Allardyce, these managers that get sacked and then miraculously the following season or the following month, they've got a job again with another team, and they're being paid a couple of million quid. Whatever they're getting paid, but it's decent money in any walk of life. They do nothing for 2 seasons. They get sacked again, but then it's like a merry-go-round of it's like a boys' club. It's like a gentleman's club where you may get sacked, but you're never going to leave that club. You're in that circle, and you no matter how bad you do, you're going to get a job. And it's just it's
shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. Shocking. So who would you get in?
Last season we got rid of him when I thought we were going to get rid of him, which was after the Brighton game. I don't know if you saw it when we got stuffed 3-0 at their ground and we never had a shot on target and had about 23% possession. I would have took Thomas Franks at the time, who obviously the manager of Brentford. I would have took Graham Potter, the manager of Brighton. I think he's a great manager. And then I threw a name out left field because he's a Geordie. Steve Watson. I would have given him a chance. Anyone but Steve Bruce.
Brighton. I've been. I don't follow them, but Lakey, one of the one of the presenters, he's a Brighton fan, and so I've seen a little bit of them, and they play very for a team that plays on a shoestring as well. And they got money now with the sale of Ben White. They play good football. And there's quite a few teams that play good football. They just haven't got a striker to put it in the back of the net. So they'd have been a lot higher up the table last season. So he plays good football. So because obviously they're going to be staying where they are now. If you did get rid of Bruce now, who would you realistically think that you would come in? Bear in mind what you just said about loads of managers were asked last time and refused.
Yeah.
Who would you get in who would actually say yes to the job?
This is it. Not many people will work with Mike Ashley. I suppose if you look at the squad that we've got at the moment and you look at the attacking talent we've got in Willock, ASM, Almiron, Fraser, Wilson, why wouldn't you want to work with those players? Yeah, and that's the way I look at it. Because if a new manager's coming in, there isn't going to be a transfer window anyway. So that takes Mike Ashley out of the equation until January comes around, of course. But we're still hoping there's going to be a takeover by then. Talks of John Terry. I mean, I'm not a John Terry fan at all. He's a full kit knob end, and I'm trying not to swear because it's, but he's that kind of person, isn't he? He sits on the stands and then runs on the pitch and he's full kit at the Champions League final, doesn't he? I did it. So he is someone who, I mean, could he step up? I don't know. The other one was obviously Steven Gerrard, but again, why would he leave Rangers to come to Newcastle when he's got Champions League football? There isn't anyone other than Eddie Howe who's out of work. I think he's the only person we could realistically, potentially ask to come to the club. I mean, Matt Ritchie's there, Wilson's there, and Fraser's there, who he's worked with before. He might be persuaded to come and do a job until the takeover happens, and he would keep us up, and we would play a better, attractive football as well at the same time.
Yeah, good manager. Good manager.
Yes,
like kind of on the Alan Kirbishley mould kind of type manager. Yeah, decent manager. What are your thoughts on Newcastle, Matt?
I was going to say, just on the Eddie Howe thing, he worked well on. So I don't know if Bournemouth have necessarily a shoestring budget, but they're a bit of a smaller club, like smaller stadium. He did quite well to sustain them in the Premier League for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that, with the resources.
And there was a long time he was actually touted for the Man United job, wasn't he, when Fergie was going to quit?
Played some really nice football for the first 4 or 5 years, so when they had the bulk of those players you mentioned available. I think he could work at Newcastle maybe, but that's the thing. There's not that many names out there probably at the minute that you could link with it. The only one that comes to mind for me maybe Steve Cooper, the Swansea boss. I think the old Swansea boss. Sorry, I think Palace and another Fulham went down. Sorry, didn't they? I think Palace and Fulham were looking at him over the summer. And I think the Swansea owners were a bit peeved at him putting applications in for those 2 jobs, so they ended up mutually terminating the contract. But he's I don't know if he plays the kind of football you'd necessarily want to see at Newcastle, but he's sort of very good at drilling a team to be solid defensively. He's worked in one of the Wales youth setups as well, and I want to say he was one of the assistant managers when England got far in one of their youth World Cups as well. But with the attacking talent you've got, I think having a sort of defensively sound manager would give you the platform to bring those players more into the game. Because me and my mate were talking the other week, it was last weekend actually, because this is a little lad's christening, so I was trying to help him buy a suit. So we were talking about the scores, and he said he was following one of the betting apps, and a load of people going on about Saint-Maximan, and he's cut above a lot of players in the league. He's so quick and tenacious, he's really good dribbling, and you've got those sort of players in your team. You want to have the platform to let them do their thing on. I think, like you said, the problem in Newcastle mainly is the owner and the manager, and unless you can shift both, but it's been that way for a while with Mike Ashley, and it's a real shame to
14 years.
I still remember seeing those Newcastle sides that were sort of pushing up towards the topper end of the league. I don't know if I remember Mike Ashley taking over necessarily. I'm not as wired into it, not following them as much as you do, of course. But been saying it for a while. You can see the fans are clearly opposed to it. I think it's just his own ego that he won't sell up, and he's just a greedy sod. But yeah, that's it. What you said there was maybe another takeover happening, or was that you just hoping for an early?
No. So basically, the Saudis were all set to. The keys were almost handed over to them. This order, managers and directors test, or whatever it's called, owners and directors test, was almost done. Then a new CEO came in at the Premier League, and literally they just stopped the whole thing. They never given a straight answer to say why the takeover wasn't approved or whether it was rejected. 20 months into a potential takeover had gone through, and the Premier League have still not answered the question yet of why. They haven't given a yes or no answer. They basically said, we're looking into it, we're still doing all this. So at the moment, there's 2 court cases going on to try and get this resolved. There's a CAT case and there's an arbitration case going on. So arbitration is basically there to try and prove separation of PIF is not an estate-owned. Money-wise, it's a bit more complicated for me. The lawyers and all that sort of stuff need to get involved with it. But which is really weird because Man City estate-owned and PSG estate-owned, but Newcastle can't be by the Saudis, which is a bit weird. And then there's a CAT case, which is basically against the Premier League on grounds of unfair justice towards the top 6. So the top 6 apparently have said, we don't want this takeover to go through. This is going to ruin our league. They're going to have all the money in the world. We need to stop it. So the CAT case is there basically for Mike Ashley to say that there's been an unfair bias against Newcastle United. We've been left in limbo for 20 months, which has then stopped the team from progressing, even though that's Mike Ashley's fault. But in his eyes, he's sold the club. He doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. He's not going to put any money into it. So he is fighting tooth and nail to get this takeover done. But it's all been adjourned till January, so we've got no idea what's going on. As fans, we know nothing. And it's so unfair because there's people who are ploughing £500, £600 in a season to go and watch them. And there's no hope. There's no excitement. It's soul destroying at times. So that's where we're at as Newcastle fans at the moment. We want this takeover. We don't care who buys the club, as long as they've got a little bit of ambition and they want to improve the team season on season. One thing that we've always said as Newcastle fans, which I think doesn't come across on the radios and with all these pundits and stuff like that, we do not demand to win things. We do not demand a team to win. We demand a team to try.